but we should get going and respect the time that we said, 11 to 1. So thank you for coming today to the cybersecurity class. There will be one session today with a break in the middle, and then next week will be another session similar to today with a break in the middle. So this is something that has been in Mr. Moussone's heart, Pastor's heart. He's heard of scams. His mother has almost been scammed, and scams are everywhere. Technology things, they can get very scary. So it's been in people's, kind of in the works for a long time to get some classes going to teach people about cybersecurity, cell phones, computers, what to do, what not to do, all that kind of stuff. And as a result, we have here today this class here. So let me introduce Mr. Marc Mousson. I have his biography here. Marc Mousson is a cybersecurity expert with over 30 years of experience protecting individuals, businesses, and federal agencies from digital threats. As Chief Technology Officer of DataSure24 and founder of MCS Solutions, LLC, Marc has built and led security programs for hospitals, banks, credit unions, real estate firms, and U.S. government agencies, including the Department of Labor, the Department of Health and Human Services, and NASA. Marc holds the Certified Information Systems Security Professional, CISSP, one of the most respected credentials in the cybersecurity industry, along with certifications in cloud security. He has led and performed penetration testing, meaning he is professionally trained to think like a hacker, finding weaknesses in systems before the bad guys do. He has also conducted forensic investigations for state and federal agencies on national and international criminal cases, professionally recovering and analyzing digital evidence in support of law enforcement. As a founder of the first 24/7 Security Operations Center in the Buffalo region, Marc leads a team of security professionals who monitor and respond to real cyber threats every single day. He has personally responded to hundreds of security incidents, helping organizations recover from ransomware attacks, data breaches, and fraud, giving him a front row seat to exactly how criminals target everyday people. A natural and experienced educator, Marc has taught technology and security classes and seminars to a wide range of audiences and has delivered expert testimony in court cases involving cybercrime and digital evidence. Now Marc is bringing the real-world expertise directly to you. So I hope we all pay attention and glean from his expertise. We have the PowerPoints up there, and I have them here printed out. I will hand these out for you so you have them, and you can jot down any notes. But right now, Mr. Mousson.
Thank you, Callan. That was a lot. Sorry about that. And I don't know if you noticed, the original advertising had Mike Harbour listed as teaching. He couldn't make it today. So, thanks to Callan's quick, resourceful thinking, he frankly got someone much smarter than Mike and frankly better looking than Mike. He couldn't make it either, so Callan called me, and so I came. So, you guys work together? Me and Mike, we used to. He used to work for me for probably 10 years. Yeah, and then he went to, I forgot, one of the healthcare companies doing all that stuff. So, okay, so we're going to talk now. I know we have a range of different people here, and I don't know your experience, your knowledge, your background when it comes to all this cyber stuff. So today the goal is really just to get kind of everyone on the same playing field, because I know you're coming from different knowledge bases and whatnot. So some of you may know a lot of this stuff, so bear with me. Some of you might be brand new and oh my goodness. And then next week is when we're going to dive a lot deeper into some of this stuff and show a little bit more kind of advanced type of stuff. But that's my goal today, to get all of us pretty much on the same page. As Callan mentioned or started to mention, I'm a cybersecurity. Some may say expert, some may say in the world, some may say just standing here on the stage, who knows? But, I've been doing this for a long, long time. So I have a few things to go through. Now, I am all about making it as interactive as possible. You have questions or anything like that, feel free, raise your hand, blurt out, something like that, because really in the end, it's all about you and about having you be safer. So if there is something that is close to your heart or something that has happened, definitely bring it up. Don't keep it. And one of the things you'll see at the end, we want to not keep this stuff hidden or silent, because that's when people kind of get in trouble. So the first thing I do want to talk about is recognizing scams, how to spot and avoid fraudsters targeting you. Because that's really, I think, I'm kind of starting with the most common type of stuff, and then we'll dive in a little bit more deeper. So there are a number of different scams that happen online and on the internet. One of the common scam types is phishing emails. What's a phishing email? Some of you may have heard these terms, some it might be brand new. What's a phishing email? That's a fake email pretending to be maybe your bank, maybe Amazon, maybe Netflix, Medicare, asking for personal information. So pretty much you get an email that's impersonating some sort of company, some service. Here's an example. You may get an email that's from Netflix. Anyone hear of Netflix? Some of you, most of you. Account suspended. We were unable to validate your billing information for the next billing cycle. Please update your payment details. One of the important things is you need to be very, very careful. I kind of live by the idea of trust no one when it comes to the internet. Now, I don't have, the Adamos aren't here. We have something in common. I'm originally from New York City, from the New York City area, just like Mike Adamo there. And I'd say since I was probably 2 months old, living around New York City, the one thing I learned is I don't trust anybody. So I have one leg up on a lot of other people. So when it comes to things like emails, when you get a notification, be very, very careful. You should not be, frankly, believing anything as far as I'm concerned, if you get something like this. And then if you do, I'll talk more about it in a little bit. You should be, what I tell people is, if something or someone communicates to you, never trust it. The only thing you should really be trusting is if you go outward and communicate. So if you get something from Netflix, don't believe it, but maybe you go and you contact Netflix. Or you get something from your credit card company, an email from your credit card company saying there was a fraudulent charge or something in your email. Don't respond to that email. Don't click on any links in the email, because that's what fraudsters and scammers do. They want you to click on stuff that takes you to their sites and that takes you to bad things. But what you do is, if you have a Chase credit card, you'll go and you call up Chase directly. Again, never trust any information that comes from somewhere outside to you.
Should you even open it?
I generally suggest not to. Sometimes we're not thinking right, or it seems okay. You should try to not open it, because you're going to do two things. Number one, there might be something bad in the email where just opening up that email may do something. But secondarily, I think a lot of this, and we'll talk definitely more next week, we'll talk a little bit more today about a lot of this scam stuff. The scammers are really working, we talk high tech, and Callan just talked all this high tech stuff I do. Most of the scams are actually very, very low tech. And these scammers are actually simply using psychology to try to scam you and do things. And so the reason why, to answer your question about not opening it, is, inquiring minds want to know if we have an email, right? And a lot of times we want to, we'll click it. And even if you do open up that email and you don't delete it, it's sitting in your mailbox. You may go back there later. Again, it just gets you more and more curious about that email type of thing. And that's why usually, what you don't know won't hurt you. And I usually tell people, don't open it, delete it, just pretend it doesn't exist. And that way you're not going to be tempted later to say, I wonder if that was a scam or not, and open it and start going down that road. So, again, I usually feel, the funny thing is, I deal with a lot of high-tech stuff and high-tech people. And I can tell you, the more high-tech somebody is, the more low-tech they live. Like all my colleagues and whatnot. I'm telling you, the most technologically advanced people I know, they live in a cabin in the woods in North Collins, and they don't even have internet or a phone or anything. Because, they know you don't want to kind of go down this road. So, yeah, try not to open it up, but definitely, if you do, don't click on anything, and I never believe anything I get in email. Again, I'm from New York, it's easier for me. My wife says I have no emotions, and this is a great example of I take a look at this and it means nothing to me. Text message scams, that's another type of scam. So you get those emails. There's also text message scams, things like fake package delivery notices or bank alerts with suspicious links. I don't know if anyone's ever gotten like a text on their phone, something like this. A UPS package has arrived, and you're not expecting a package. Yes, Count?
EasyPass is the big one that's...
EasyPass has been going around lately. Bank alerts, hey, there was a fraudulent charge or you're about to overdraft, stuff like that. Again, I don't think you necessarily, for me, I generally don't believe any of this stuff at all. And I usually just go and delete it. That way, it's out of my mind. I never even have to come back and think, oh, maybe it is real. If worse comes to worse, if you think it might be real, like EasyPass, again, you never click on the link in a message, whether it's email or a text message. If there is a package, or if there is you get a notice from EasyPass, just go to the EasyPass website on your own. Again, if you're making that outbound, you're initiating that communication, that's a lot safer than responding to any communication that comes externally, because it's completely unverified. So those are text message scams. So it's important to understand, this stuff that's out there. Lottery prize scams, a scam where, you won something. A lot of times you have to pay fees first, they say. You just won $1 million, but you need to pay the taxes on it, and you need to pay $20,000. So something like this, winning final notification. We're pleased to inform you you're the declared winner of the North American Sweepstakes. You just won $28,000. And contact us. To expedite the processing and close is a check for $960. Things like that. So you just need to be very careful. When something is too good to be true, it's usually not true, right? So, things in life, I hate saying it, again, according to my wife, I've got no emotions, I got no feelings. Things in life aren't free for the most part, or at least you shouldn't be expecting it. Phone scams, something called phishing. When callers are claiming to be the IRS, Social Security, or tech support, demanding money or information. That happens, you get a phone call. I can tell you, where's my phone? Oh, I don't have my phone. Oh, here's my phone. I get around 12 phone calls a day from scammers. 12 a day. I signed up, I was doing this investigation years ago, 15 years ago or so, in which it was kind of through an investigation. There's, if you go to websites and whatnot, sometimes there's ads of, you can get a loan for, a business loan for $250,000, no questions asked type of thing. So as part of it, I had put in a fake email address, but I had to put in my actual phone number. And it's, click here and put in your info and we'll see what loans we can get you type of thing. That was 15 years ago. I entered it once in one website. I get around 12 phone calls a day for the past 15 years. frankly, from scammers and from people saying, and I get text messages all the time. Hey, we just secured you a $199,000 loan. You know, don't be giving out any information. When callers, you know, when you're talking about the IRS, governments are not going to call you, like the IRS is not going to call you and say, you owe us money. There's going to be official communication from the IRS. You're going to get an actual piece of physical mail from the IRS if you owe the IRS a lot of money. I know, believe me. We're not going to go down that road. Social Security, tech support, somebody calling saying, hey, you know, there's a problem with your computer or your phone. Any of that type of stuff, again, that's phone scams or phishing. There are scams that, you know, some of us are, you know, a little bit on the, we'll say the more experienced in life ages. And there are scams that say it's a police officer and they arrested your son or your daughter or your grandkid, and you need to, you know, pay X amount of money to bail them out. The police aren't going to do that. You know, the government isn't going to be doing that. Again, for me, the crux of things is never believe anything that comes externally in from an unverified source. So yeah. Oh, I thought there was a question. Romance scams. Online relationships that build over time and then request money urgently. So there's a number of red flags, signs of a scam. Someone professes their love quickly and they claim to be from the US but is overseas for business or military service. They ask for money and they lure you off of a dating site or things like that. And, you know, when we're looking at this now from the outside, we're like, I'd never fall for some dating scam. You know, somebody texts me. And from the outside, it seems like we would never fall for it. And I'll show you next week about some real world stuff that I have videos of and things. It's very easy to get caught up in the moment. And that's what we want to kind of try to stop, getting caught up in the moment. You know, it's very easy. It is not uncommon at all. You know, I'll get a text from somebody, hey, how you doing? Haven't spoken to you in a while. And then you respond, hey, who is this? Oh, it's Angeli. Don't you remember me? And they start this conversation back and forth. And then they eventually say, oh, sorry, I must have typed in the wrong phone number. And then they say, but hey, since we're friends now, let's talk, type of thing. That's what a scammer is trying to do. A scammer is trying to get you to kind of talk back and forth, to kind of get you to open up, to gain your trust.
Yeah, Mark, it's probably AI that's talking to you too.
Nowadays, yeah. Yeah, nowadays it's even worse, yeah. So, you know, we want to be careful. And you know, again, it seems from the outside looking in, you know, looking at this, I never fall for a scam. There are thousands and thousands of people. You know, maybe they're lonely people. Maybe they're just very trusting. You know, maybe they're trying to help out. And it's very easy and people fall victim to it all the time. I had a friend's aunt. She was, I don't know, like 84 or something like that. She lost like $20,000 on the scam, and it was the scam of, oh, their grandson is in jail and needs to be bailed out type of stuff. So you know, we want to be careful about that. These romance scams, on one hand, we never fall for it, but when you have lonely people, you know, when you have people that are simply trying to be helpful, it's very easy. So, you know, some signs, as I mentioned, that somebody professes their love quickly. I mean, I've been married for 16 years. I am telling you that, you know, for 16 years, if somebody's professing their love quickly, I'm not sure about that. I'm still waiting for Jen to profess her love to me. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Jen. Oh, is this being streamed? Oh, no. Now I'm in trouble. She told me not to say that. You know, we want to be careful. Claims to need money for emergencies, hospital bills, or travel. You know, so people understand, and I'll talk more about this later, these scammers aren't dumb people. And a lot of us kind of think that, oh, they're a scammer, they're dumb. They're not. They do this every single day, dozens and dozens of times today. They know exactly what you're going to say in response, and they have a response to you for anything you could possibly tell them to try to gain your trust, to gain information about you, things like that. You know, like at fairs and whatnot, there are the mentalists or the palm readers and things like that. You know, they're kind of a scam, but they're able to, just using psychology and whatnot, they're able to elicit information from you that you don't think you told them, and then they simply spit it right back to you, and you're like, oh my goodness, this person can read my palms and read my mind and stuff. So again, these are professionals. They do this every day. This is their job. Tech support scams. This is a very common thing. There are pop-ups or phone calls claiming that your computer has a virus. Things like this. I don't know if anyone's ever gotten a pop-up on their screen. Microsoft warning alert or Windows support alert. Your system detected some unusual activity. I actually, for next week, I actually have, from what I can tell, the only recorded actual scam on unsuspecting victims. There are people that, like on the internet and on like the YouTubes and whatnot, where people will tell their stories, or there are people that try to like bait scammers, but I haven't been able to find any actual scam, a real scam actually being taking place to an unsuspecting victim, except for the one that I have. So it's very interesting, and it was actually this type of scam. A pop-up appeared on their screen saying, "Oh my goodness, your system detected activity," or there is a virus or something. Call Microsoft. Now understand, scammers all work on trying to gain your trust, and they kind of know. Again, they're not dumb. They know who you trust. You hear the word Microsoft, you probably trust Microsoft. They're a pretty big company, right? So when you get something on your computer that says, this is a Microsoft alert, and call Microsoft at this phone number, it makes it seem like, oh yeah, I should call that number. And that's not a real number that goes to a scammer. And I'm telling you, Microsoft, once they sell you your computer, they're not interested in you. They're not going to be sitting here protecting you every day and providing support saying, hey, there's a virus, call us and we're going to help you with all this stuff. So this is a very, very common scam. A lot of times if you simply accidentally go to the wrong website, instead of going to bankofamerica.com, you go to bankofamerica.com because you had a typo, that will probably go to a scam website. You don't know you typed in the wrong website, and suddenly this pops up on your screen, and you start snowballing and going down this path. Yes.
So, similar things I've had with that is I can't remember if something's a .com, a .org, a .whatever, and you type in the first part correct, dot, and then the wrong thing at the end, that'll take you to that wrong site as well.
Yep.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're
Oh,
doing.
absolutely. Yeah. So we need to be careful. You know, we can't trust anything that's coming to us unverified. And yeah, we need to be aware that if we're going somewhere, especially, there could be a typo or something like that. So we do need to be careful. Again, I trust no one, so I have a leg up in a sense.
Is that how to recognize some of the scams, by some of them have those typos wrong?
Yes. Yeah, and I actually have a slide a little bit later kind of showing that. Yeah. Letters look very similar. An O versus a 0. It's very hard to tell the difference. A lowercase l versus an I. Very, very easy to get them mixed up. So there are some red flags and warning signs of a scam. Urgency. Scammers, I mentioned earlier that scammers work on psychology. The best thing that scammers do is they make you have a sense of urgency. You need to do something now. That is pretty much that's the best way scammers can succeed, making you think you need to do something now. Scammers create a panic so that you act without thinking. The quicker that they can make you act, the more likely you're going to act without thinking. And it's funny because I actually use this in the past when I've had to go and track down the bad guys. I actually have used the same technique where in trying to track down the bad guy, I've done something to make the bad guy think something was wrong on their end and panic. And I'm telling you, they did one thing wrong, and boom, we were able to find them and catch them and whatnot. So it's actually the same thing. So it's very important that you understand whenever anybody is trying to instill some sense of urgency on you. I'm telling you, there is nothing, number one, nothing on the internet, and practically nothing in the world that needs to be done right now this second. You know, the IRS calling, the quote-unquote police calling. Unless somebody is kind of bleeding out right in front of you, there's really nothing more, nothing urgent besides that. So especially when it's something on the internet, somebody's calling you, you have a virus, things like that. Yeah, the IRS calling up, or the government saying you owe us, or E-ZPass saying you're going to lose your driving privileges. There's nothing that is urgent in life. You look at these lawsuits that go on for what, 10 years before anything happens. Gift cards. No real government agency or business will ever ask for a payment in gift cards. And it's not uncommon for a scammer. In order for them to get money, they'll say, this is the IRS, you owe X amount of money, or this is the police, and in order for us to release your grandson, you need to give us $100 in an Apple gift card or a Walmart gift card. And it happens. It happens a lot. If you go to Walmart now or Best Buy or whatnot, there are signs at Walmart where you buy the gift card saying, never buy a Walmart gift card to pay some third party because it's a scam. It happens so much. Walmart has signs warning people. Again, a government agency is not going to ask for a gift card for payment. It sounds very, very, very simple and very silly that people would fall for it. When you are what's called the fog of war, when all this craziness is going on with the scammer, and I'm telling you, the scammer doesn't talk very nicely and slow and say, hey, give us they are peppering you with information. They are peppering you with questions just to get you confused. So you do the one wrong thing that's going to cause trouble. An unusual sender, kind of going to your question earlier. You want to check that full email address. Scammers will use tricks like amazon-support@gmail.com. I generally never trust an email address. And when I'm talking about not trusting an email address, again, if anyone initiates communication with me, I don't trust it. Which means you should not be hitting reply, because if you're hitting reply, you think you're replying to Amazon, but you're probably replying to that scammer. Too good to be true, right? Winning money you didn't enter for. Unbelievable deals. You need to trust your instincts.
I'm sorry, could you explain why that Amazon support@gmail is phishing? Could you just explain that to us?
Yeah. So Gmail is an email service that anybody can get a Gmail account, a Yahoo. People have Yahoo accounts, Hotmail accounts. So these are like any Joe Schmo can get a Gmail account. Now a normal email will come from I'm just making it up, support@amazon.com. That's probably like the official, true, real Amazon email address. And what people do is, knowing that they kind of key off of just the words that you trust. You trust Microsoft, you trust Amazon. So they know they can't make an actual support@amazon.com email address. They're going to create an email address that sounds like it. So they're going to create an email address that says amazon-support@gmail.com. Normally, emails from a company is going to come from the company's own email address. Their what's called their domain. See what comes after the @ at gmail.com. More likely than not, it's going to say at amazon.com or at microsoft.com if it's actually a real email account for that company. They're not going to use a public email site to create an email address. Does that make sense? Good? Good enough? Okay. Yeah, unbelievable deals. Trust your instincts. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. I just had a colleague of mine, actually my mentor, he just recently passed away in December. And he was a cybersecurity guy. On his Facebook page just a couple of weeks ago, and he passed away in December. On his Facebook page a couple of weeks ago, there was a post from his Facebook saying, hey, this is Jim's wife. I'm trying to get rid of Jim's old stuff because, I can't bear to have it in the house. And he has his brand new, 2025 Lexus. I just want to get rid of for $500 type of thing. And there was a whole big list of all different stuff. Golf clubs for $20 and all this type of stuff. These deals are too good to be true. It turns out Jim's Facebook account had been hacked, and a bad guy had went and a scammer had put in all this stuff supposedly for sale for really, really cheap. And then what do people do? The scammer has Jim's Facebook account, has access to Jim's Facebook account. The scammer's gonna post all of this stuff very cheap, unbelievable deal. People are going to respond to that and say, hey, Jim, I like this particular, I like your car for $500, and the scammer is going to say, okay, you need to send me the money electronically or in Bitcoin, or you need to make an Apple or a Walmart, get an Apple or Walmart gift card and pay me in a gift card type of thing. So when you buy a gift card, the recipient doesn't need the actual gift card. Every gift card has like a number on it, kind of like a credit card number. So what happens is you buy an Apple gift card or a Walmart gift card, and the scammer says, okay, what is that number on the back of that card? And once he has that number, he can just go and use that. He never sees you in real life at all. If somebody requests secrecy, this is, to me, a pretty good indicator. This happens a lot, and the scammers are able to do this in such a, oftentimes a way where people don't realize it, where they request secrecy. Don't tell your family, things like that. Hey, I'm selling this, this car for $500, but don't tell your family because, it's such a great deal. We don't want anybody to know. Or this is just for you. Or, hey, I want to be your girlfriend. I want to be your boyfriend, but let's just keep, our little secret type of thing. Legitimate businesses, legitimate people will never ask you to keep secrets. Any of this stuff, whether it's the fake IRS or the police or any of that. That is the main way which they kind of keep in control and keep their power, is by making sure it is just you. I had a friend that she was getting these phone calls from a scammer. I forgot exactly what it was. But some scammer that kind of wanted money for whatever reason. Again, I apologize, I forgot. It may have been something like the IRS or something like that. And she had she was smart enough to say, oh, let me go get Mark. And she told the guy on the phone, this was an actual phone call, back and forth for days, back and forth. Because that scammer is trying to get you to trust them and get more info and whatnot. And she finally said, you know what, let me go speak with Mark. And she told the guy, I'm going to go, speak to my friend Mark, about this. And the guy got very mad, actually, and said, no, this is just, why are you getting another person involved? This is just a transaction between you and me, and got very, very mad because, that is one of the big ways in which scammers are often thwarted, because you have that outside person being able to look at this stuff and being able to see it's a scam. So anything that requests secrecy is a huge, huge flag. And then poor grammar or poor spelling. Professional organizations proofread, and if there are errors in spelling or punctuation, or things just don't sound like normal people talk, and I'll show you some examples shortly. I can usually, look at the first 2 sentences of an email message and say, all right, that's a scam. And the person's like, well, what do you mean? How can you tell? And I explain it, and they're like, oh yeah, now that I see it, oh my goodness, how could I have missed it? And that's what we're going to talk about next week. So, what to do if you suspect a scam? I can tell you the most important thing you can do if you suspect a scam. Now, and when I'm talking about suspecting a scam, it really comes down to your gut feeling. A lot of people discount their gut feelings. And in all reality, your gut feelings are actually the most important thing, especially when it comes to this stuff, and are usually right. The reason why is, and there's been all sorts of psychology-based stuff that's been researched and whatnot. When it comes to your gut feeling, your mind is usually aware of a lot more stuff than you even think you know. And and that's really what your gut feeling is. Your gut feeling is somewhere in the back of your mind. For example, your brain can sense this is not proper English, or there's a spelling mistake, but you can't put your finger on it. You can't actually figure out what it is, but you have that gut feeling that something simply isn't right. And in most cases, that gut feeling is right, because you have these additional senses, in a sense, that your body has been telling you, yeah, it doesn't make sense. You know how, like, when you're watching movies and whatnot, a big thing is, like, people are in the woods and whatnot, and and someone's like, oh my goodness, what's happening? And the other person's like, what do you mean? Everything seems fine. And then the person says, no, it got really quiet. Something like that. There is this stuff that most of your time your conscious mind doesn't recognize, but your subconscious mind recognizes that something isn't right. So the most important thing that I tell people when your gut says something is wrong, number one, listen to your gut. Number two, the most important thing you can do if you suspect there's a scam is do nothing. I mentioned earlier that scammers try to get you to act, and to act quickly, have that sense of urgency. The most important thing you can do is absolutely nothing. And I know it sounds very weird. No, I need to, either fight back or find out what's going on or do this. No, do nothing. That is actually the best response you can do. Don't act immediately. Scammers want you panicked. Scammers want you to do something you shouldn't be doing in a split second. Take 5 minutes before doing anything. Don't be afraid to hang up the phone. Don't be afraid to delete that email message, delete that text. Number two, don't share things. Don't give your social security number, bank information, passwords, gift cards number, anything personal. And a lot of times you don't even think you're giving away personal information. But the way they're talking with you, just like I mentioned the palm readers, right? They're able to solicit and get information out of you that you don't even know you're giving them. Just the way that you're talking. You said we versus I. All sorts of little subconscious type of indicators. So don't give any information. Your social security number, bank information, those gift card numbers I talked about over the phone. Don't give it via email. I had, and this is actually a little bit into next week, a friend who was being scammed. They had actually gotten that warning that there was a virus on their computer. And the virus alert, the Microsoft alert said to call Microsoft, and there was a phone number. And The wife called me when it was happening and was explaining the situation. There was an alert on their computer, and they're talking to Microsoft now. And Microsoft says that they need to pay $150 to scan their systems. And I said, no, it's a scam. And I remember she said, no, it's not a scam. We called them. We called Microsoft. So it's not a scam. Well, they called the phone number that was on their computer from that pop-up. And they trusted it, and they started giving them more information. Don't give any information. Number 3, I talked about this. It's okay to hang up on suspicious callers. I was talking to Callan a little bit last night, and going back to I have no emotions and feelings, one of the biggest, number one, things that scammers take advantage of, and to that point, most people, they have good morals. They have a good heart, right? And that is really to our detriment in a sense when it comes to stuff like this, because we trust other people inherently. We trust other people. We try helping other people. Someone says they need help, and we try helping them. And even when somebody calls us up and it's a scammer, we feel bad hanging up on them, right? Hey, I gotta go now. And the scammer's like, no, don't go, I really need it. And you stay on the phone a little bit longer. No, it's like you feel bad you're hanging up on them, or you're deleting that email, things like that. So that's one of the things we need to get over, really all of us being good people and trying not to hurt other people's feelings. And that's one of the biggest obstacles that we all have, is we don't want to hurt other people's feelings. I have no problem with it, but most of you are going to have a problem with it. But that's what that's the best way to do it. Don't be afraid to hang up on suspicious callers. You know what? They'll call back. They'll find another means to get a hold of you if they are legitimate. I had a friend, Russ Leap. Anyone know Russ? Russ, I spoke with Russ the other day, and he was saying he's looking to buy a car. He's looking to buy a new car or a used car, and he got a phone call from. He got a phone call, and there was a voicemail, and the phone came up potential spam on their phone, because phones nowadays try to indicate that. And he called me saying, hey, I got this thing, and it said potential spam, but I've been calling, I've been trying to call these people for cars and whatnot, and I kind of don't know what to do. And this one potential spam caller called like 4 times, like in a row type of thing. And then they left a voicemail and said it was an auto place in Hamburg. And then they called from another number and left me a voicemail. And it turns out it was a legitimate call. But, I think I've trained Russ so good of, hey, if there is something suspicious, they can leave a voicemail. They'll find a way to contact you. And worst comes to worst, I told Russ, you get their number. If that's who they say they are on their voicemail, you find their number and you call them up and say, hey, I think I missed a call from you. So again, don't be afraid to hang up on suspicious callers and delete suspicious emails and texts. We talked about that, about opening it. You shouldn't open it. I wouldn't lose sleep if you open it and then you said, oh, this is a scam or something. But I would delete things like texts or emails. It just, curiosity killed the cat. When you have this bad email sitting there in your mailbox, you very well may click on it and, not thinking once and do something bad. So I usually tell people, delete it. Yes?
How does your phone determine it's a scam call?
A number of ways. One of the main ways is other people report these phone numbers as scams. So that's one of the more common ways. And then the phone companies have kind of like their own lists and whatnot from either, again, people that complain and say this was a scam. So In their particular case, they were a used car dealer. That alone, is a little fishy, and probably, it wouldn't surprise me if some disgruntled customers put in a complaint, saying, "Oh, this used car dealer scammed me," just because they were unhappy. But yeah, so there are different lists that they do. There's other types of metrics, like if they see if the phone companies see like certain phone numbers calling hundreds of phone numbers, every day type of thing. So there are certain patterns that scammers use. That's another way that they do it. I mentioned earlier, number 4, verify separately. Call the company directly using the number on their official website or like on your credit card itself. Not the one that they gave you. I would not go by caller ID. Don't go by any phone numbers in that email. Find the actual company stuff separate from that communication and call that number directly. And then number 5, tell someone. Talk to a family member or friend. You could report it to the FTC. Talking to a family member or friend is the next most important thing. The first one is don't act immediately. And really the next important thing is tell somebody. And I know people have their pride, they feel embarrassed if they got scammed or they think that, that there's something suspicious. Don't be afraid to tell somebody. A lot of times you just need, you don't want to feel stupid or anything like that. And a lot of times people just need that third party, that outside looking in. And just that alone is absolutely huge. I had a colleague of mine. His son is in high school, and his son kind of got taken a little bit by one of these romance scams type of stuff. Some text message, a high school kid. We were all in high school and junior high once, and the boy, he sent some, let's just say some questionable texts or pictures or something. I don't even necessarily know, but he sent some questionable communications and messages to this girl on the other end of this text message. Well, as soon as that questionable thing happened, you know what happened next? That scammer said, "Oh, now I'm going to blackmail you. I'm going to post these images you sent me all over the internet, and unless you pay me, $10,000." And your life is pretty much going to be over with. And I can tell you, there are kids that commit suicide for some. We hear about it in the news. It is not uncommon. And I can tell you, the most important thing this was a real thing that happened about a couple of years ago. The most important thing and the best thing that happened is that kid told his dad. He said, "Dad, I screwed up." And we're all a bit older now. We know there's nothing worth ending your life over. There's nothing that can't be fixed. And he told his dad, "Dad, I screwed up. I sent this stuff," and that literally saved the day. His dad actually got a hold of me, who I got a hold of some other people in the government, some authorities and whatnot. And with a little bit of info, remember how I told you about how in the past I was able to do something to make the scammer act very quickly and mess up? We did the same thing with this particular scammer, and we were able to essentially track down that scammer, and the FBI was on the case pretty much immediately. They were able to track down that scammer. Not only that, they saved an elderly lady in Boston who had just given that scammer like $20,000 and was about to give that scammer a whole bunch more info. And there was about a half dozen other people that scammer had on the hook. All because that one kid wasn't afraid to go to his parent and say, "Dad, I kind of screwed up." And what his dad does is his dad hugged him and said, "You did the right thing. Thank you for coming to me." They never mentioned it again, and the entire problem got fixed. Tell somebody, talk to a family member or friend. I get calls all the time. And I mean, I usually spend a lot of time, why I tell people I talk people off the edge of a cliff, right? They're in the middle of a scam or they think they're being scammed. And pretty much what I do is I talk them off that cliff. I say, all right, let's take a break. Let's take a breather. And, we can kind of, address this and it's not a problem. We'll get through this and it's a scam and et cetera, et cetera. So that is really the second most powerful thing, telling somebody. Don't be afraid. Questions? That was a lot. All right, we'll do this and then we'll take the break? Or you want to take the break now?
Let's take a break and then we'll reconvene 5 after.
Okay.